Sorry, guys, we were muted. I've got way too many windows open and tabs open. So,
Dave did a sound check already, so I don't understand how that happened.
well, no, that's to make sure the sound is coming through. And then when you're fake live, you got to mute the sound. And then when you go
And you
real
didn't.
live,
All right.
you have to
So,
unmute it.
as they say, once more with passion.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to before we get started, I do want to thank Bruce Maximus for the super chat and pointing out that
Hey.
we were muted. Yes, we have YouTube before.
All right. So, from the top.
All right, but with feeling this time, right? All
Yeah.
right, guys. Thank you for bearing with us on our technical difficulty. Welcome to Nerdarchy, 4 hours by nerds, where your mind is the mightiest weapon. I'm Nerdarchist Dave, and with me is this telepathic titan of tabletop.
Nerdarchy Ted. Greetings, adventurers and thought tamers. Tonight, we're peering into the future of D&D with a brand new Scion class from Unearthed Arcana 2025.
Scion marks the first new full class since the Artificer, powered not by steel and spells, but raw mental force. Whether you're flinging foes across the battlefield, swapping minds, or turning your own body into a psychic weapon, this class is shaping up to be a game changer.
If your character woke up with psionic powers tomorrow, what's the first thing they'd do with them? Mind read a villain? Launch stuff with their brain? Let us know down in the chat.
All right, so Unearthed Arcana 2025, the Scion. We're going to jump right into the class. We're going to read a lot of this to you guys. Some of it we're just going to paraphrase a bit. But Scion, a master of psionic power. Scions weave magic and extraordinary powers through the power of their minds. They develop their minds as fonts of power that manifest spells and grow stronger over the course of their adventuring careers. You can find everything you need to play on these psionic powerhouses in the next few sections. So you guys can just go over to D&D Beyond and download the Unearthed Arcana for free and start playtesting it and use it in your games and see how it goes. With that, we got some core Scion traits to go over.
So the primary ability is intelligence. They're going to get a D6 hit die. Saving throws is going to be intelligence and wisdom. And like almost every class, they're going to get 2 skills. And your choices are Arcana, Insight, Intimidation, Investigation, Medicine, Perception, or Persuasion. They're going to get simple weapons, and they get no armor.
Yeah, so they're very wizard like, very sorcerer like in in their core traits, which is to be expected because they are full casters. And they're a bit different from Scions of the past. Matter of fact, they have a little sidebar about what is a Scion, and they kind of discuss like some of the things, some of the ways Psionics has come up in D&D in the past. With that, we're going to jump into their features. Their very first feature is spellcasting. With that, they're going to get cantrips. They start with 2. They suggest minor illusion and telekinetic fling. At levels 10 and 14, you get 2 more cantrips. You're going to get spell slots like all spellcasters get in 5e D&D. You have your prepared spells, you get a certain number of them. It goes up as you level up, and you can only choose to have prepared spells of levels that you can actually cast, which kind of makes sense.
Now the big thing that the Scion gets that is unlike other things is their psionic spell casting. If you cast a Scion spell that doesn't when you cast a Scion spell that doesn't crap, I can't talk. When you cast a Scion spell, that spell doesn't require a verbal or material component, even if in the stat, block it says it, includes V or M in its components. The only exception is if it has an object that is consumed by the casting or has a cost. In those situations, you do need to provide those things. But other than that, if it's a Scion spell, it is a boom. It's essentially your subtle. And that kind of goes into that weird quandary that I think lots of DMs kind of finagle of, okay, well, nobody knows that you're casting the spell until it comes out, but after it comes out, is there a physical manifest? Can it be countered? Can it not be countered? It's always I've seen so many arguments over this type of thing. So I'm gonna throw you under the bus, Dave. What's your thoughts?
Well, it's still, if the spell has somatic components. Now, I didn't go through their full spell list to check, what are all the casting components for each spell. But if
Right.
a spell technically has somatic components, then that would be a Q. But then again, the other problem is that's not what counterspell says, right? Because that's what we're talking about essentially. Counterspell says when a spell is cast, you can
Yeah.
use your reaction, right? So
Yep. It
so
doesn't say it doesn't say when the spell is cast that you can see. It just, oh, it's within this time. So it's like, all right, the spell goes off. It's been cast. Now this happens. So it opens things up to a lot of debate and a lot of interpretation.
I would say DM Fiat, rules as written. I would say go with DM Fiat, but also rules as written is going to be, it can be countered. Now, that being said, though, like that's a discussion to have with your players and at your table is like, do you want psionics to be countered by counter spell or anything really, a sorcerer using subtle spell, what have you? Because if you can't, if you don't want it done to you, then you have to deal with the consequences of, well, that can also happen on the other side of the screen,
Right.
right? So I think it doesn't matter either way as long as there's consistency and everybody kind of knows up front.
Right.
And like, if you have a sorcerer in the game who's playing and wants to use subtle spell, well, this discussion should be had. If you got a psionics in your game, this is a discussion that should be had. So their level 1 feature is psionic power. You harbor a wellspring of psionic energy within yourself. This energy is represented by your psionic energy dice. Your psion level determines the die size and the number of psionic energy dice you have, as shown on the energy die and number of dice columns of your Scion features table. Your psionic energy dice are used to enhance or fuel certain Scion features. You start with 2 such features: telekinetic propel and telepathic connection, each of which is detailed below. Some of your powers expand your psionic energy dice as specified in the power's description. You can't use the power if it requires you to use a die when your psionic energy expend it. You gain 1 expended psionic energy die when you finish a short rest. You gain all of them when you finish a long rest. Some features that use psionic energy dice require your target to make a saving throw. The spell save DC from the class of spellcasting. So we have telekinetic propel. As a bonus action, choose 1 large or smaller creature other than you that you can see within 30 feet of yourself. Then roll 1 psionic energy die. The target must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed or pulled, your choice, up to a number of feet straight away from yourself equal to 5 times the number rolled. The die is expended only if the target fails the saving throw. Now, I will say you can use this on allies because they can always choose the fail if you just want to move your allies around the battlefield. So this
Yep.
gives you battlefield manipulation on your side or the enemy's. You also get telepathic connection. You have telepathy with a range of 5 feet. As a bonus action, you can expend your 1 psionic energy die and roll it for a number of minutes equal to your psion level. The range of your telepathy increases by a number of feet equal to 10 times the number rolled die. So you basically have these 2 powers. You can always use them as long as you have your dice. You always have a telepathic connection as long as they're no more than 5 feet away from you. As long as you can look into their eyes lovingly, you can talk to their mind.
So their die starts at a D6 and goes up to a D12. So the variableness of their power is I think is interesting, and can be challenging. Like, sure, okay, at some point in time, like up to 10 times the number rolled. Okay, so I could technically get up to 120 feet away, but like I really have to wait until 17th level to have the chance, a 1 in 12 chance of being able to have my telepathy get to that kind of level.
To be
I
as
feel like,
powerful as a message.
yeah, I feel like that's a little underpowered, um, for the dude who's got ninth level spell slots. I feel like there's other spells that be like, all right, this class feature I'll just ignore and use a spell like where Rary's telepathic bond or whatever it's called. I feel like that's going to be the more go-to if you want to be able to use this when you get to those higher levels, because it's like this just is, it functions better rather than me having to expend a die and then roll to see if it works. And it's only going to last, minutes. Okay, so like, all right, I'm 20th level. It's going to last 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, like I would say in the first tier or two, these abilities aren't bad at all, especially the telekinetic propel. It's a bonus action.
Sure.
It's not spellcasting, and it's not the only thing you get. You also get subtle telekinesis. The mage hand cantrip. You can cast it without somatic components, and you can make spectral hand invisible when you cast it. So all in all, at first level, I think the stuff you're getting is decent enough, and you're still a spellcaster too.
Right. It's potent. I'm just saying, like, I feel I feel telepathic connection is the equivalent of the Dragonborn's breath weapon. It's interesting at the start of the game, and it eventually falls off to the wayside because it's replaceable by other things that are significantly better.
You're not wrong, Ted. You're not wrong. So at level
All
two,
right, so level 2, you're going to get Psionic Discipline. You learn further psionic techniques that are fueled by your psionic energy dice. You gain 2 disciplines of your choice that are detailed later on. You can only use 1 discipline each turn and only once per turn unless otherwise noted, in the options. And whenever you gain a Scion level, if you want to change them out, you can, drop one and gain another. Then you gain 2 more options at level 10 and 2 more at level 17.
yeah, so you get a total of 6 of them. I believe there's like 11 total, right? And we'll get into
Mhm.
them later. So you end up with just better than half of them, and some of them are pretty interesting. Gives you some cool things to do with your dice. I don't wonder. I kind of wonder if you're how quickly you're going to go through the dice with this. But then again, you're also still kind of technically a full spellcaster. This is definitely a different direction for Scions than we've seen in the past. At level 2, you also get psionic modes. You have honed your psionic powers to act as both a shield and a weapon in battle. As a bonus action, you can choose one of the following modes, granting certain benefits for 1 minute or until you use feature again. Attack mode. Damage from your weapon attacks, psion spells, and psion features ignore resistance to psychic damage. In addition, when you roll damage for a spell, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to reroll a number of damage dice up to your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1, and you must use the new rolls. It's definitely a feature that we've seen before. Defense mode. You have resistance to psychic damage. In addition, when you fail an intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throw, you take a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die, roll the psionic energy die, and add the number saving throw, potentially turning a failure into a success. So that could be useful if you happen to be in that mode, because it takes a bonus action to switch back and forth. You can use this feature twice, and you regain all expended uses when you finish rest. So
Right.
there's things that
So
you're getting from it without expending the die, and you can buff it with.
right. So the thing that I like about this is you have very offensive and defensive mode, which I feel very much fits with the concept of the core of Scion or Scion Assist that I harken back to with second edition, where psionics was fairly prevalent, even though it was a add-on. Um, I played a lot with psionics. Nate was super into it. Um, but one of the things that I really dislike, and they keep throwing it out there, and I'm going to keep saying I dislike it, is in the attack mode of like, oh, you expend a resource to roll dice, and you have to use the new rolls. In my table, if you're expending a resource to re-roll something, you will always get to choose the better of the two. You're not going to take worse by expending a resource. That to me is the stupidest piece of crap rule I've ever heard. And I don't know why they keep throwing that out there.
Don't hold back, Dad. Just tell us how you feel.
It's dumb. Like you are expending a resource. Like later on, you're gonna see like there's times that the Scion has the ability to roll a die or expend a die, and if the thing's not successful, they get to keep that resource. So why are you expending a resource and having the potential to have a worse result? That doesn't fit the rest of 5e. I'm sorry.
But that's not
I don't know
entirely
what.
true. There's abilities that are very similar to this, and they always make you keep the second roll. But yeah, it is kind of lame. I agree, and it's a great place for house rules. So
And in my house, that's always the way it's going to be. So that is the bulk of what you're getting out of Scion. Third level, you're going to get access to a subclass, and later on we'll describe the Metamorph, the Psywarper, the Psychokinetic, and the Telepath. All four of those are included in the Unearthed Arcana. So look for that. Level 4, you're going to get your ability score improvement or a feat, and of course you get them at the same levels: 4, 8, 12, and 16.
level 5, you get Psionic Restoration. When you finish a short rest, you can regain expended psionic energy dice, but no more than number equal to half your number of dice rounded down. Once you use this feature, you can't do so until you finish a rest. So before 5th level, a short rest, you get 1 die back. Now you get half your level rounded down. So 5th level, you would get back 2, 6, 3, etc. etc. So
half your number of dice.
yeah.
So it's not so. Do they get a die per level?
No, you get but more than
Yeah. So you'd only be able to get at maximum 6 back.
when you
Once
max
you hit
out.
level 17, when you max out at 12 dice. Uh,
But it was more
but
than
it's
you were
not.
getting before. So, short
But
rest, you get
absolutely.
some of it back, which isn't bad.
Yeah. Hey, getting 6 back is better than 1. So, level 7, you're going to get your Psionic Surge. When you roll initiative, you can expend one of your hit point dice and regain 1 expended use of your Psionic modes. In addition, after you roll 1 or more of your Psionic energy dice, you can expend 1 of your hit point dice and treat any roll of 1, 2, 3 on the Psionic energy die as a 4.
See, now I think you would have been much more happy with that in your Sonic attack mode.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you would have felt way better about that because that is a very much a bump up. And I like now we're using hit point dice, which it only took like 10 years for them to go, oh, here's a cool resource, let's use it. But yeah, it took some time, but we're getting there. That's what the
Yeah.
2024 rules are for, I guess.
And I will throw out there, what is it? If you
Right.
want to check out our thing as a Hit Dice to Heroics, as a product over on the website where we incorporate using your hit dice for other things. We don't always splash out our own products in these things, but it's a thing that we've been doing for a long time. So
Level 19, of course, you get your epic boon like everybody else. And then at level 20, Enkindled Life Force. Once per turn, when you expend 1 psionic energy die and roll it for a psion feature or psionic discipline, you can expend 2 of your hit point dice to roll 2 additional psionic energy dice and add the numbers rolled to the total. Now, I like the use of the hit point dice. I like the fact that you're buffing with it. I don't like this is your capstone ability. Like they could have gotten this at any point before now, and it would have been amazing and cool. And now it's kind of meh for a capstone.
yeah, I would agree. I don't know what I would put in its place. Um, the sonic energy dice fuel a lot of things. I feel like having some kind of like resurgence or something, whereas like um you can always kind of, I don't know which class gets it or which subclass gets it, but it's like you can always use this feature, but you roll like the lowest die. um you know, I'd love to see something like that in that place.
Oh yeah, I know.
Uh,
I know exactly what you mean. I think it might be the soul knife, or I think it's the soul knife, but I could be wrong. I don't know, folks. Let us know in the comments or chat what if you remember where it is. But I know the mechanic you're talking about. So that's a wrap for the core class. But now we get into the psionic discipline options that are part of the core class because they're a big part of it, right? Like we said, there's quite a few of them, and this is where you're going to really get to use those psionic dice
Energy.
some more.
Right.
So
So the first one up is biofeedback. When you cast a Scion spell from the Necromancy or Transmutation school, you can expend one of your dice, gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier, minimum one.
you also are going to get access to destructive thoughts. When you cast a Scion spell from the Conjuration or Evocation School, and a creature you can see succeeds on a saving throw against the spell, you can expend one psionic energy die, roll it. The creature takes psychic damage equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier, minimum of one.
Devilish Tongue. When you take the influence action, you can expend one energy die, roll it, and add the number rolled to the ability check. Not bad. Given some skill monkey options going on here.
Ego Whip. When a creature provokes an opportunity attack from you by leaving your reach, you can take a reaction to roll one psionic energy die and force the creature to make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, the target speed is reduced by 10 feet and it subtracts the number rolled from the next damage roll it makes before the end of its turn. The die is expended only if the target fails the save.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was talking about earlier. So like, okay, you can expend the die, but the creature fails their saving throw, die's not expended. You get it right back. So like, this is what I'm talking about.
Oh, you mean the other way around?
Expanded awareness. When you take the search action, you can expend one psionic energy die and add the number rolled to the ability check. Again, more skill monkey options. So you've got a lot of versatility in how you choose to make your scion.
Insinuation. When you cast a Scion spell from enchantment or illusion school that forces a creature to make a saving throw, you can expend two psionic energy dice and roll one psionic energy die. One target of the spell you can see subtracts the number rolled from the saving throw against the spell.
That can be absolutely brutal. I mean, heck, even a D6, like, oh, you gotta take four off your save. If you're already not good at it, that can be just absolutely brutal. Inherent aim. When you make an attack roll against a creature and miss, you can roll one psionic energy die and add the number rolled to the attack, potentially turning the miss into a hit. If this causes the attack to hit, the die is expended. So the wording choice here is weird. It probably should say if the attack still misses, you don't expend the die. But it's
Yeah,
the same. It's the same way.
they don't have Crawford anymore to make sure everything's lined up right.
Yeah, that's sad.
Psionic Backlash. Immediately after a creature you can see hits you with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to expend one psionic energy die, roll two dice, and subtract the number rolled on each die from the total. In addition, you can force the attacker to make a wisdom saving throw. A failed save, the target takes psychic damage equal to the amount rolled, two psionic energy dice. This one's kind of nice. It's like Hellish Rebuke, but also it might make you miss.
Right. Psionic guards. At the start of your turn, you can expend one energy die. Until the start of your next turn, you have immunity to the charmed and frightened condition and have advantage on intelligence saving throws. If you are charmed or frightened when you use this discipline, the condition ends on you. When you use Psionic Guard, you can also use a different psionic discipline this turn.
I believe
So
it's the only one that lets you do that too.
I believe so. The thing that I find interesting about this one, and I feel there's going to be a lot of players who, okay, well, I've gotten charmed. Okay, well, I'm going to use this. It's like, well, if you're charmed, you don't always know you're charmed. So, like, why would you be choosing to do this to end the charmed condition? I feel like there's going to be a little bit of munchkin going on with this particular one. I got no no problem with the frightened angle. And honestly, I don't use charm enough to have it really impact my game. But I just, using my own psychic powers to see that there are going to be those who power game this one.
Sure. I mean, I would just assume it's part of the power to know that you know that you're being influenced, and I would just kind of play it that way from both sides
Sure.
of the screen. Precognition. Swift precognition. You cast a science spell from the abjuration or divination school with a casting time of an action. You can expend the number of psionic energy dice to change the casting time to a bonus action. For this casting, number of dice equals 1 plus the spell level, which you can do this all the way up to ninth level. Um, it's going to be expensive, but if you want to cast Wish as a bonus action, I don't know that they get Wish, but if you wanted to, you could.
I don't think Wish is on the on the spell list. Let me quick jump down here. No, they get weird. They don't get Wish. All right, so moving into their last option here, Tactical Mind. When you take the study action, let me guess, you can expend one energy die, roll it, and add the number rolled to your ability check.
Yeah, well, so I mean, when you have all of these, basically it breaks down to like you can go very skill heavy if you want, or you can go very caster heavy if you want, and there's some utility things. So it does give you some ways to customize your core Scion class, which I kind of like. And you get, I guess you probably get enough uses of your energy dice. I mean, start at 4, end at 12. As eventually you're getting them half back on a short rest, and you're still a full caster with other options. And that's not even getting into what you get from your subclasses as well.
Right.
So I'd say all in all, I have mixed feelings about this version of Scion, and the reasons is one, it's very balanced, right? Which is good, right? Like the problem with Scions in the past has been creating a psionic class that balances against your other classes. And previously, the they've always treated the Scion and psionics different than magic, which I kind of like, right? Like I like that it feels like it's not magic, it's something different, something other. But here it really is just magic and it's another way. Now they've done some nice things in order to kind of make it feel a little different with the components, but that only gets weirder when you have something that requires a material component that gets consumed, or is costly, right? Because now you need you for everything else you don't need them except for this one thing, couple things.
Right.
There's not going to be that many. So that part's a little bit odd and weird. I'd have to see it at the table, see how it feels and plays out. I don't know that the psionic energy dice give me this huge feel of a different system or a different energy power than your primal, divine, or arcanes that we were getting before. But I don't hate it.
Sure. So it's a step in the right direction at minimum. I feel I do feel like this is almost another iteration of the Way of the Four Elements monk that leans very heavily upon these energy dice. Um, so many class features, lean on these things. So if you're not getting short rests to get these things back, I feel like you're gonna have some issues in being able to use your cool stuff. Um, so I don't know until I see it in play, until I, have a chance to really extrapolate this, because like sure, this came out, a handful of days ago. I didn't really start reading it until yesterday. So this is a scenario of I haven't really had time to really absorb it and digest it and see, how I think it's really going to go. But my gut feeling is for certain play styles, not going to be a problem at all. If you're getting plenty of short rests, this guy's not going to have any issues. But if you're not taking significant short rests, but you're still having lots of combats, I feel like the Scion is going to fall a little short.
Yeah, I mean the question is, how's it going to stack up towards the sorcerer and the wizard? I mean, because like the sorcerer, you have your sorcery points, and they're kind of on par with your psionic energy dice, right? I
Right.
mean, the difference is you eventually get more sorcery points than you do psionic energy dice, but also a lot of times the costs are different.
Right.
You're starting with more psionic energy dice. I'm in the same camp. I need to see this at the table, see how it plays out. At a glance, I don't hate it, guys. Let us know down in the comments below what you think if you're going to be playing this in games. So with that, let's jump into Psionic. With that, let's jump into Psionic subclasses for the 2025 Unearthed Arcana. First up, what do we got, Ted?
First up is the Metamorph. Physically sculpt life and flesh. Your mastery of psionic powers turns inward. Your own flesh becomes clay, like clay to you, and you mold it to turn it into the perfect vessel of your psionic powers. Experience in manipulating your life energy also enables you to adjust the life force of friends and foes alike. So like, a lot of the spellcasting, subclasses these days, you're just going to get a whole boatload of spells that get added as you gain levels. So when you take this one at third level, you get Alter Self, Cure Wounds, Inflict Wounds, Lesser Restoration. Fifth level, Aura of Vitality and Haste. Seventh level, Polymorph and Stone Skin. Ninth level, Contagion and Mass Cure Wounds. So these are automatically always prepared for you and don't count against the spells that you would prepare that you choose.
It also definitely gives me that idea that you kind of shape and mold flesh, right?
Yeah.
One way or another. So I think it's pretty thematic. I like it.
So I feel like this one is very easily going to fit into our Under the Dome setting.
Oh yeah, it's definitely weird enough for sure. So level 3, that's not all we get. We get organic weapons. You can shape your limbs into weapons whenever you take the attack action or make an opportunity attack. You can reform your free hand into one of the following organic weapons: Bone Blade, Flesh Maul, or Visceral Launcher. And can't wait to make that Flesh Maul. Your limb immediately returns to its previous form after your organic weapon hits or misses its target. Whenever you attack with the weapon, you can use your intelligence modifier for the attack and damage rolls instead of strength or dexterity. You can cause the weapon to deal psychic damage or its normal damage type. You also get access to a bone blade. A blade made of bone springs from your forearm or extends from your hand. The blade counts as a simple melee weapon with the finesse property, and it deals a die 8 piercing damage. On a hit, you have advantage on the attack roll you make with the blade if at least one of your allies is within 5 feet of you, the target, and the ally doesn't have the incapacitating condition. Flesh Maul. Your fist and forearm coalesce into a hardened mass of flesh and bone. The maul counts as a simple melee weapon and deals die 10 bludgeoning damage on a hit. A creature hit by the maul has disadvantage on the next strength or Constitution saving throw it makes before the start of its next turn. Visceral Launcher. Your hand and forearm transform into a crossbow made of muscle and sinew that fires bolts of bile. The launcher counts as a simple ranged weapon, a normal range of 30 feet and a long range of 90 feet, and it deals a die 6 acid damage on a hit. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with an attack roll using the launcher, you deal an extra d6 acid damage target. I really like these, and I really want to like this subclass. But the problem is you're basically a wizard hitting things in melee. Even though you get some really cool attacks, right? The fact that you can get advantage, basically you end up having like pack tactics with the bone blade, or the flesh maul giving disadvantage on strength or constitution saving throws. Heck, you got a bonus action that you could use after you hit them with this to then push them away from you. So you're not a squishy wizard type in melee combat anymore. And then the fact that you have the visceral launcher that gives you a ranged attack. It starts off slightly better than your cantrip, but your cantrip eventually is going to outperform it. I
Right.
think, but there's reasons why that might not end up being the case later on. It does acid damage, which is good. It gives you different damage type, but you could also just choose to do psychic damage with any of these instead of the damage listed as well.
Right.
So it gives
So
you options.
so when I look at these things, the first thing that comes to my mind is, okay, we've already talked ourselves fairly hoarse on, the concept of gishes, and this falls right up there, with your hexblade, your college of swords, your um your blade singer, you're a caster, and you're running into melee. But I always look at these things and say, okay, who is going to mix this with, a warrior class? And, you could easily be like, okay, well, I'm going to take, you know, a Metamorph and Psionic Warrior, combine these things together, take just enough to, get my Metamorph. Well, now I'm able to strap a shield onto one arm and turn my other arm into a D10 maul. Because that's some pretty sick damage, and that could technically allow you to get to like 17th level fighter, third level metamorph. You're getting a lot of swings there out of that D10, plus strapping on a the shield. I think that's a pretty win combination in my book.
Yeah, and there's no cost to it either, right? You just
No,
that's just a thing you get to
any
do.
yeah, anytime you were to go and make an attack. Um, So it does say whenever you take the attack action or make an opportunity attack. So like it doesn't even limit you in that, opportunity angle. If you're gonna swing at something, you have a weapon. So you are considered armed. So like that's yeah, armed. See? Uh, so you've got some cool flavor there. Sure, it's not the best if you want to just be like, yep, the D6 hit die, and I'm gonna charge into melee and smack things with my fist hammer. But it's pretty cool if you start mixing it with other stuff.
Yeah, and also you
But
might
that's
like
not all you get at third level. You're also going to get extend limbs. As a bonus action, you can expend one of your energy dice, and for the next minute, you gain the following benefits. Your reach increases by 5 feet, your speed increases by 5 feet, and when you cast a spell that has a range of touch and a casting time of an action, you can make the spell's range 10 feet. So you can be like, "Oh, and I'm going to just reach over there and, touch somebody." So if you're just a little bit short, you can still make it happen.
yeah, I guess it's okay. I don't know how amazing it is, because you're spending your energy die to do it. But I mean, at third level, you're getting a lot of stuff, and also you're getting access to some really good spells. So like if you go the route you were talking about, and multi-classing, you could probably come up with some really interesting and fun things to do. Uh,
I mean, just looking at their choice at third level, you're getting cure wounds and inflict wounds. So like both of them really speak to the, hey, I sculpt flesh, so it's like, all right, well, I'm gonna just knit you back together, I'm gonna slice you open, we're all good.
you might even be better going. To be honest with you, going Eldritch Knight instead of the Psy Warrior because you're gonna get more spell slots
Sure,
to
I just
pump
was
into
I was
things.
keeping it a little thematic, but you're 100% correct.
But level 6, you get extra attack. In twice, you can attack twice instead of once whenever you make an attack action on your turn. In addition, when you cast one of your Scion cantrips, that has a casting time of an action in place of one attack. So that's kind of nice. Physically attack with a weapon or with your organic weapons. At the same time, you could also blast someone with a cantrip,
Telekinetic fling.
kinetic flame.
Sixth level, you're going to get quickened healing. When you cast Cure Wounds, you can expend 2 energy dice to change the casting time to a bonus action. When you do so, you can roll an energy die and add the number rolled to the total amount of hit points restored. So it's like, all right, you not only are you going to be able to throw in, your Cure Wounds onto be it yourself or somebody else, you get it off as a a bonus action, which means you can still, you know, uh, womp some stuff with your weapons, and you're going to heal for more because you're using those dice.
I mean, and technically, you could heal people that are 10 feet away
Yes.
if you wanted to go that route. Level 10, mutable form. When you use your extended limbs, the duration increases to 10 minutes. You gain one of the following benefits of your choice, the effect which lasts until extended limb ends. Stony epidermis, you have advantage on constitution saving throws to maintain concentration. In addition, choose one of the following damage types: acid, blood, cold, fire, lightning, piercing, or thunder. Gain resistance to the chosen damage type. Superior stride. While you aren't wearing armor, take the dash action as a bonus action, and you have the climb speed and swim speed equal to your speed. You're hypermobile. A natural flexibility. You gain a +2 bonus to AC. Your body in your body, along with your any equipment you're wearing or carrying, become pliable. You can move through any space as narrow as 1 inch, and you can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from non-magical restraints and the grappled condition. So, one of the problems I'm kind of like seeing is like there's so many things for your bonus.
Sure.
You have like a
Uh,
ton of options.
and but options can be good. You're not always going to need all of the different things at any given time. So I don't consider it bad when you're spoiled for choice. Level 14, we're going to get, the subclass cap, life bending weapons. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with an organic weapon, you can expend an energy die and roll it. Each creature of your choice within 10 feet emanation originating from you regains hit points equal to the number rolled plus your intelligence modifier. Additionally, one creature of your choice takes necrotic damage equal to the number rolled so long as they're in that area.
I love it. Hey, buddy, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay. Fuck this guy right there. Fuck him.
So like you basically are like, all right, I'm gonna siphon a little bit of life from you, and I'm gonna make all of you feel better.
Yeah. And
All right, so there's the metamorph.
it's
Uh,
also,
I,
I was just going to say, it's
I,
also off your attack roll too. You're hitting someone and then healing the people around you that you want to, except for the person you want to do more damage to.
but it doesn't necessarily have to be that one. It's just somebody
Yeah.
within 10 feet of you.
Yes.
So like this could be your betrayal moment of like, all right, I hit the bad guy or I hit the friend, and be like, all right, now I'm a sap for you too. So it could be interesting. So all in all, I like the metamorph conceptually. It does have all of the, the earmarks for problems with Gish characters.
Yes.
Um, but given the fact that this is probably the closest that I will ever get to, remaking Grevin, the beardless one, I still have I still like it. I think it looks cool. I think I'd play it.
Even though we had already stated previously that the Scion capstone ability is a bit lackluster, I will say the Scion capstone ability with the Metamorph's capstone feature actually stack together very nicely. Something to look forward to when you hit 20th level. All right, moving on. We have the Psi Warper. Warp space with the power of your mind. Psi Warpers turn their psionic powers to manipulating the space between objects, capable of teleporting across the battlefield and creating vacuums in space. Psi Warper is never in one place for too long. We get some spells at third level. They get added to your spell list. The Psi Warper spells. At third level, Expeditious Retreat, Featherfall, Misty Step, Shatter. Fifth level is Blink and Haste. Seventh is Banishment and Ninth, Steel Wind Strike. Love it. Teleportation Circle. So I think the Shattered is kind of funny because I have no idea what that has to do with. Maybe the idea is you're sending bits and pieces of everything in there away from itself for it to work thematically. But all in all, it's a good spell list.
It is a great choice. I think, all of it really does, fit well with the movement. Maybe Shatter was just like, all right, we can't figure it out. Somebody roll randomly and we'll just, we'll throw something in there. But it definitely adds a little bit extra pizzazz, into that list, because it's like, all right, sure, Steel Wind Strike and Haste are potent offensively. So adding in a little bit of offense at your first get, I'm here for it. But that's not all they're going to get at level 3. They're also getting teleportation. You can cast Misty Step without expending a spell slot. And basically once a day. And you can also restore your use of it by expending an energy die. And obviously it's already on their list, so they can cast it at any point in time, with their regular spell slots as well.
which would probably make more sense unless you're just short on spells. Level 3, you get Warp Propel. When a target fails a saving throw against your telekinetic propel, instead of pushing it, you can teleport the target to an unoccupied space you can see within 30 feet that is horizontal to you. So, like off a cliff.
So this is the new norm of now, oh, that's horizontal to you, because there's so many things that are like, oh well, I just teleport them up.
No, because that would be vertical to you.
Well, right. Well, what I'm saying is like
You lie down,
the
so it's vertical to you.
well, no, like people were using these things of like, oh, well, I teleport them 30 feet away. Well,
Mm,
people have been teleporting them straight up
yes.
so that they take the fall damage.
Yeah.
And this is not what that's designed to do. Sure, you want to push them off a cliff. There's nothing that's going to stop that from happening anymore. But you're not teleporting up and letting them fall. It's not what that's there for.
Or out a window or whatever. But anyway, it gives you some options. I like it.
So level 6, you're going to get a warp space. When you cast Shatter, you can expend 1 energy die to modify the spell so the radius of the sphere becomes 20 feet. In addition, creatures that fail their saving throw against the spell are pulled straight towards the center of the sphere, ending in an unoccupied space as close to the center of the sphere as possible. This kind of clusters them together so that maybe somebody else who's going to AOE next can come in and share the love.
Yeah, I think it's fun. It gives you some fun options. And like if there was someone outside of that range, you can always just bonus action teleport them over there too. Just come up. Level 6, you also get Teleporter Combat. Immediately after you cast Misty Step, you can cast one of your Scion cantrips that has a casting time of an action as part of the bonus action. That's pretty sweet.
So this one is really going to allow you to, be awesome, because essentially, you can cast a cantrip twice in a round without a problem. So Misty Step is your bonus action. So either, uh, so as the bonus action, you're going to teleport. So you could technically be like, all right, well, I'm gonna cast my cantrip, Misty Step, cast my cantrip again, or do something else. I don't know. So depending upon how you want to, layer things, I see this character is going to have a lot of choice and a lot of movement around the battlefield. I mean, it says it, in there, like they're never in the same place for too long. So it's like, all right, they get Misty Step for free, once a day. So you can always be able to do this, once per long rest and double down on that. You know, and then God forbid you actually give them uh a magic item that has Misty Step, so many times a day. That's going to be absolutely insane.
That would be kind of fun. Too bad the Artificer doesn't get it because they can put it in one of their items because it is a level spell.
Yeah.
Level 10, that word,
Duplicitous.
duplicitous. Sorry, guys, I can't. Level 10, duplicitous target. When a creature you can see makes an attack roll against you, you can take a reaction to expend 1 psionic energy die and choose a willing creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself that doesn't have the incapacity condition. You and the willing creature teleport, swapping places with each other, and the creature then becomes a target of the attack roll. But maybe someone with a much higher armor class, or the raging barbarian that's going to take half damage.
Yeah, I feel like this is like a massive bread and butter for this character. Be like, oh shit, I got a low armor class. You just hit AC 15. The Paladin's got a 19. Swap.
Yeah.
You
Or,
missed.
yeah, it's the old bait and switch. Or, like, oh, you thought you were in combat with the squishy? Actually, I meant the barbarian.
So I see the number of, hilarious and awesome moments,
Between
that are going to be propelled by that.
between your bonus action and your reaction, you're like all over the place.
Yep, yep, yep. But we're still not through. We get our subclass topper, level 14, mass teleportation. As a magic action, you can expend 4 psionic energy dice and choose huge or smaller creatures within 30 feet of yourself, up to a number of creatures equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1. Each of the chosen creatures is teleported to an unoccupied space you can see within 150 feet of you. An unwilling creature that succeeds on a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC is unaffected. So you can have some fun with this one. I see this could be both, offensive or defensive, depending upon how you want to play with it. I think it's good stuff.
So now you can literally teleport as your reaction, your bonus action, and your action.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got one word for this subclass. Fun. It just seems fun. You run out
Well,
of
I
your
mean,
stuff, but it seems like it would be a lot of fun.
I mean, it's like it says it right there in the description of like they're not in the same place, for long. Like you could play this dude as like super hyper and like all right, they're sitting there, they could be a pacer or someone that like taps their leg up and down when they're sitting, they're hard to keep still. Or you could just be like, oh, this is very, very low key, but when things hit the fan, they're like, okay, well, I'm over there, and then I'm over there, and I'm over there.
Yeah, and so far I really dig the subclasses. I mean, the first one, I love the theme, but I don't know how well it's going to play. But
Sure.
this one, I love the theme, and you can see that it's going to play really well. I suspect it may even play better than I'm thinking, especially if you have a very tactically minded group of players that work well together.
Absolutely.
You start
So next,
layering things like entangle, web, and other AoE effects.
absolutely. So we've got the psychokinetic, mold psionic force for creation and destruction. A psychokinetic controls their sonic powers like a malleable force. They bend their telekinetic energies into sturdy barriers and strike with the force of a battering ram. So you're gonna get your psychokinetic spells. Level 3 is Cloud of Daggers, Levitate, Shield, Thunderwave. Fifth is Slow, Telekinetic Crush. 7, Odaluk's Resilient Sphere and Stone Shape. Ninth, Telekinesis and Wall of Force.
So that's not all, though, folks. At third level, you also get telekinetic techniques. When you use your telekinetic propel, you can impose one of the following effects on that target. Boost the target speed increases by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. Disorient, the target can't make opportunity attacks until the start of its next turn. And telekinetic bolt, if the target fails a saving throw, it takes force damage equal to the number rolled on your psionic energy die. So you have ways to buff, debuff, and just do more damage.
Which, options is always a great thing. And to have that array, that's just sweet. 6 levels are going to get an empowered attack mode. While your attack mode is active, you gain a fly speed of 60 and can hover. And when you cast a Scion spell, you can add your intelligence modifier to 1 damage roll of that spell.
Well, your attack mode just got a lot better.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not all. At sixth level, you get rebounding field. When you cast shield in response to being hit by an attack roll and cause the triggering attack to miss, you can expend 1 psionic energy die to launch the force back at the attacker. Attacker makes a dexterity saving throw for 2 psionic energy dice. On a failed save, the attacker takes the force damage equal to the roll, and you gain temporary hit points equal to that amount. On a successful save, the attacker takes half as much only. Let's take a really good spell and make it better.
Yeah, I mean, shield is already awesome. Um, so you're spending 1 die in addition to, you casting your shield, and they're going to get 2 dice worth of damage, and you're going to get the temporary hit points. If they pass their save, they get half damage. So it's still one roll of the die stacked onto your The fact that you know the numbers, like your shield's gonna stop the attack. So you're not getting the damage. So this is gold. And I guarantee you, if my son reads this ability, he's gonna be like, I want that.
It's a good one.
All
So
right, level 10, enhanced telekinetic crush. When you cast Telekinetic Crush, you can expend one psionic energy die to modify the spell so that whenever a creature fails or succeeds on the saving throw against the spell, the speed is halved until the start of your next turn. So this isn't as much, fun until you get to what the spell actually does. But basically, success or failure, that speed is halved. That's kind of what you're looking for.
yeah, you get to hamper them. 14th level, heightened telekinesis. When you cast telekinesis, you can expend 4 sonic energy dice to modify the spell so that it doesn't require concentration. If you do so, the spell's duration becomes 1 minute for the casting, and you can't target or you can target gargantuan creatures and objects. So yeah, anytime you can take a concentration spell and not concentrate on it is a nice thing.
Yeah, that is a huge situation. Probably the best capstone of the subclasses. Uh, I read that one and I was like, holy crap, Twitch, Twitch.
Yep, and they're keeping with the themes. It's strong, like it. Um, Telepath masters tactics in the landscape of the mind. Telepaths are masters of mind magic. They use their psionic powers for all matters of the mind, whether they bolster the mental defenses of allies or probe the thoughts of others undetected. Telepath can be a bastion of psionic aid or a crafty manipulator. So, starting at 3rd level, you're going to get those telepath spells added to your list. At 3rd level, Bane, Command, Detect Thoughts, Mind Spike. 5th level, Counterspell, Speak with Plants. 7th, Compulsion, Confusion. 9th, Awaken and Modify Memory. Mucking with people's heads.
So I understand why, um, but speak with plants I thought was a little weird. Um, sure, it's a telepath. They get to communicate with things. But like they don't get speak with animals at 3rd level, but they get speak with plants at 5th. Uh, I don't know. It's like, nope, you can talk to plants, but you don't talk to animals. That's not what we do here.
Yeah, it seems a little weird, but what are you going to do?
I think, what are you afraid of stepping on the druid's toes? I don't know. Um, maybe they're trying to be like, oh, well, detect thoughts will cover it because you can read the animal. I don't know, whatever.
I mean,
Uh,
Speak with Plants, though, is also a really good spell. It does way more than just let you speak with plants.
well, I've yet to see that happen in games. So 3rd level, you're going to get Mind Infiltrator as well. When you cast Detect Thoughts, you can expend 2 energy dice to modify the spell so it doesn't require spell components or concentration, and the target does not know you're probing its mind if it fails its wisdom saving throw. That's holy crap, game changer for, the mind people.
Well, yeah, there's that, and also, again, you don't have to concentrate again. Um, it's definitely a buff for your detect thoughts for sure. Which is also, I won't say I've seen it used in a lot of games, but I've definitely played in a game where it was used a lot. That makes sense.
Yes. Spoilers, the campaign's over, but campaign 3 of Critical Role has a lot of, detect thoughts and things going on with it. Very, psionic heavy, things, a lot of emotions, what have you related to certain characters. So like I feel like this would have been something that would have been used far more often. If they had access to something like that. Because like, okay, you start probing deeper and somebody, passes their saving throw, they know somebody's mucking around and you're like, nope, yeah, you don't know I'm here. That's cool.
Yeah, it works much better. But that's not all. We also get Telepathic Hub. You have telepathy with a range of 10 feet. You just doubled your range of your telepathy. When you expend the psionic energy die as part of using your telepathic connection to increase the range of telepathy, the duration of the effect, you can simultaneously contact a number of creatures 1 plus the number rolled on the psionic energy die. I mean, it takes a lackluster ability, it makes it slightly better. It's still lackluster.
When you look at all the other, telepath or telepathic races and classes, subclasses, waiting to third level to get something that's still not as good as what some races get naturally. I think if you're going to be a telepath, anything less than 30 feet is just dumb. Like, you're right there. Like, hey, I can just mouth it. Come over here. Like, 10 feet, there's not a whole lot of times that's going to be super useful, in my opinion. Um, yeah, I like conceptually what's here, but
Well,
I
I will say like there's going to be some advantages to communicating with people and not other people not knowing, but
sure.
everything else you said still kind of applies.
Sure, oh, completely. I mean, I've used telepathy, in games where I'm like, I don't want somebody knowing that I'm talking. It's incredibly useful. But to have 10 feet without having to expend a very limited resource, especially at those low levels where you only get a small handful, it's like, all right, I gotta make the choice of am I going to limit my options in combat to potentially get, you know, up to maybe 30, 40, 50, feet, like
Mm.
it's a gamble. Like,
Well, you're the next level. They're going to tempt you even more.
so the next level I actually really like. And I, when I looked at this one, like the layered mechanics began, so empowered defense mode. When your defense mode is active, whenever you make a saving throw, you add a d4 to the save. In addition, while your defense mode is active, you can extend this benefit to creatures you are telepathically connected to using your telepathic connection. So this is where I'm like, well, you need that longer range because holy crap, you layer this on, then you have your cleric cast bless, and then you get your paladin going, and you never fail a saving throw ever again.
Well, and also you want to be connected to more of your allies too, so if
Right.
they more of them get the benefit. So yeah, this with Bless and the Paladin, yeah, it's pretty nice. Although it says whenever you make a saving throw, so I guess it's not just the mentals like the defensive mode.
Yeah, yeah, no, this is all of it. This is all of it. So, yeah, I looked at this one and I'm like, all right, let's make a group dynamic that's all about passive saving throws. Sure, you got to wait till sixth level and you got to have, things going, but man.
Well, it's not all. Potent thoughts you also get at sixth level. You add your intelligence modifier to the damage you deal with any trip. So you're gonna get a boost to some damage.
It's always good, if you're doing damage on your cantrips to have them boosted by your prime stat. That's just bread and butter. Level 10, you're going to get telepathic bolstering. You have a telepathy out to 30 feet now. Hey, you only had to wait to 10th level to get that. When you were when you or a creature you could see within range of your telepathy fails an ability check or misses with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to expend an energy die, roll the die, and add the number rolled to the d20, potentially turning a failed check into a success or a miss into a hit. The psionic energy die is only expended if the check succeeds or the attack hits. Again, loving that mechanic of, hey, look, I'm gonna gamble on this. Didn't pay off. No resources wasted. Throughout this whole document, I love when they do that.
Yeah. Although you still have to expend the die if you want to have more creatures contacted so that they can get benefit from stuff. So that's kind of annoying. What are you gonna do? Level 14, Scramble Minds. When you cast Confusion, spend 4 psionic energy dice to modify the spell so that the radius of the spell sphere becomes 30 feet. In addition, creatures under the effect of the spell roll 2d10s, and you choose which roll determines the behavior on their turns. Okay, this is a great capstone ability. It takes a decent spell, extends the range on it, and then on top of that gives you more control over what. How dare
Yeah,
you?
I thought this was an amazing situation. You get more targets, and you, you can muck with them to figure out exactly how best to manipulate their turns. Of like, oh, well, act normally or stand there and do absolutely nothing. You know what? I think I'm gonna choose stand there and do nothing, please.
For sure. So great ability. Another great subclasses. All the subclasses really kill it, in my opinion. The only thing is the metamorph might be a little too squishy for all the coolness that's got packed into it. But I don't know. You guys let us know down in the comments below. All right. Let's start talking about some 2025 Unearthed Arcana spells and feats, or also known as wild talents. All right, we're gonna
All
start with
right, so
spells. Some of these are updated spells to the 2024 rule, and some of them are.
yeah, so one of the things that they added in here is obviously anytime they put Unearthed Arcana out there and they put spells, they let you know who gets them, so that it's not just, oh, this is just for the Scion. So like the cool parts is you'll get to see like, all right, the first one, Intellect Fortress, is Artificer, Bard, Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard. So lots of different options here. It's not just the Scion spell. It's level 3. For the duration, one willing creature you can see within range has resistance to psychic damage, as well as advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. You can target one additional creature for each spell slot above 3. Um, Resistance to damage, the psychic damage, as well as advantage on mental saving throws. That's really good. Um, I wonder whether it's, the equivalent of a fireball. It's somewhere in that 2 to 4 range. So I think like sure that fits into 3. I just wonder how many people are going to be choosing to be using a third level spell slot, for that, unless you're going up against a serious, like heavy psychic damage caster.
Well, I was thinking like illithids, like you parties like you're gonna invade an illithid lair. This might be useful, and you might even want to upcast it. The
Oh
resistance,
yeah.
the resistance good is good, but the advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws, it's going to be great for the people that are already good at those. But the people that aren't good at those, they're still kind of
Yeah.
screwed. It doesn't matter if you need to roll a 19 on the die or not, because you're still just rolling 2 dice and probably failing. Um, but I will say, when you stack this with the telepath, it gets a little better. There's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. This spell, they'll get more bang for their buck out of it. Also, we have Psychic Scream. This is a 9th level enchantment spell. Bard, Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock. An action 90 feet. Somatic components instantaneous. You unleash the power of your mind to blast intellect up to 10 creatures of your choice that you can see within range. Creatures that have an intelligence score 2 or lower are unaffected. I might be safe. Each target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, the target takes 14 die 6 psychic damage. In the stun condition, on a successful save, the target takes half damage. Only the target is reduced. If the target is reduced to 0 hit points by this damage, its head explodes, assuming it has ones. At the end of each of its turns, the stun target repeats the save, ending the condition on itself on successful. This one is absolutely brutal to use on your players, because if this is the spell that brings them down, they're just.
Yeah. So reading through this one, my first thought was, okay, 14 die 6 for a 9th level spell. That seems very, very low in the damage threshold. And I'm like, oh, so they're stunned around, whatever. That's not equivalent, especially when you look at, the vast array of the amount of damage that Meteor Swarm can do. You can get a lot more targets and do a lot more damage. 40 die 6 versus 14 die 6. And then I kept reading before I voiced my opinion out loud. And it's like, oh, it remains stunned until it passes the save.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, well, if it's an intelligence saving throw, there's not a whole lot of classes that are proficient in intelligence. Not a whole lot of, high intelligence, things, out there monster wise. I mean, sure, there's some, but like that's not the prevalent thing. All right. You're
Even
probably
if
not killing things with the 14 die 6, but the stunned, yeah, that's gonna crush.
yeah, that's gonna hurt a little bit. And and also too, like even if they have a high intelligence, still you're casting ninth level spells, so your DC to save is still pretty high, and they're still gonna need to make it's they're still gonna need to make a decent roll on the D more than likely.
Right. So I mean, if you assume that they don't have a focus, which for a not, a 17th level caster, that's kind of ridiculous. You've probably maxed out your intelligence. So you're looking at, 8 plus 6 plus 5. So you're at a 19 pre magic focus. So, all right, even if you've got a decent bonus, I got a plus 6 to my saving throw. It's still a 13 or better in order to not be stunned. You might get a few rounds out of this, and meanwhile, your opponents your allies are just womping ass on the stun dude.
Stun dudes up to 10.
Yeah, because it's up to 10 targets.
Yeah. What do we got next?
Rowlathim's Psychic Lance. You unleash a shimmering lance of psychic power from your forehead at a creature you can see within range. Alternatively, you can utter a creature's name. A pseudonym, title, or nickname doesn't work. If the named target is within range, it becomes the spell's target, even if you can't see it. If the named target isn't within range, or you use an invalid name, the lance dissipates without effect. The target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, it takes 7 die 6 damage and has the incapacitated condition until the start of your next turn. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage only. It's a level 4 enchantment for Bard, Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock, or Wizard, and the range is 120 feet.
Yeah, I feel like they ratchet the kind of the damage down for the psychic because very very rarely are things resistant or immune to psychic damage.
Yep.
And with these being intelligence saving throws to boot, I think that all goes into the calculation. But also the incapacitated condition is pretty brutal. They're definitely setting them up for the rest of the party to.
Yep.
All right, now for something new. Summon Astral Entity. Third level conjuration, Scion, Sorcerer, Wizard. Action 90 feet. Verbal somatic material. Gem or crystal worth 300 plus P. So even if you're a Scion, you need. And it's concentration up to an hour. Call forth the spirit of a psionic entity. It manifests in an occupied space that you can see within range and uses psionic spirit's stat block. When you cast the spell, choose the crystal entity, ectoplasmic entity, or ghostly entity. The creature resembles an astral entity of that kind, which determines certain details in its stat block. The creature disappears when it drops to 0 hit points or whenever the spell ends. The creature is an ally to you and your allies. In combat, the creature shares your initiative count, but it takes a start immediately after yours. It obeys your verbal commands. No action required by you. If you don't issue any, it takes the dodge action and uses its movement to avoid danger. Using the spell at higher levels affects the spell's stat block. So this is kind of a callback to summoning the Astral Construct from third edition, which was a Scion thing to do, but now you have some different options for it as well.
Yeah, and all that's, kind of broken up, in there, whether you got, some cool things that either increase its armor class, give it a fly speed, different attack options for each of them. So when you cast it, you've got your decisions to make. So one spell has a little bit more versatility depending upon how you actually summon the thing. It's still your summoned creature. It still has that, you know acting after you, which, again, it's your turn. I would say, like, it's encompassed within your realm. Break it up however you see as you need fit. But that's my house rule, the way I tend to play things. It's a lot of fun. It's concentration, so you're only gonna have one. That's how it goes. Um, but summoned allies are always fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys can just go download the D&D Beyond PDF and for free, and check out the stat block. You get to summon a friend, and it's as far as stat blocks goes, it's okay. It's not bad, and you get some versatility and some choice. Uh,
So Kash's Mind Whip, level 2 enchantment, Scion Sorcerer Wizard. You psychically lash out at one target you can see within range of 90 feet. The target makes an intelligence save. On a failed save, the target's takes 3d6 damage, and it can't make opportunity attacks until its next turn. Moreover, on its next turn, it can either take the action or the bonus action, not both. On a successful save, target only takes half the damage. And you can upcast it to target one additional creature for each spell slot above second.
Not bad. I mean, it's a reprint that's been slightly updated for the 2024 rules. We also get Telekinetic Crush. This one actually might be a new one.
This is absolutely one.
Level 3 Transmutation, Scion, Sorcerer, Warlock. Casting time action, range 120. Just the verbal, which for you, if you're a Scion, think it. Duration instantaneous. Create a field of crushing telekinetic force in a 30-foot cube within range. Each creature in the area makes a strength saving throw on a failed save, or the target takes 5d6 force damage. Has the prone condition. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage. And you can upcast it, increasing by a die 6 for every spell slot above.
Yeah, I like this one. Again, new spells are always a great thing for me. Um, you know, sure, you can say it's a cube, but you could also like reflavor this one. Um, to whether you want to come out with hammers or giant fists that are trying to literally squish or crush your opponents. I'm a big fan of taking the raw mechanic and reflavoring it to best fit how your character would have spells go off. And this is definitely one that I definitely was like, all right, let's literally crush our opponents.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. I mean, you don't get the same size as you do with a fireball, and the damage is slightly less, but it's force damage, so there's not going to be a lot of resistance to it. They do fail their save. They have the prone condition. You hit them at 120 feet away. You knock them prone. They need half their movement to get up. You can really control the battlefield with a spell like
You could hammer them down.
hammer them down.
All right, so the last spell in this document is Telekinetic Fling. This is an evocation cantrip for Scion only. This is our first thing that's like, all right, we're just talking about Scion here. You brandish the ammunition used to cast this spell and fire it at a creature within range using psionic energy. It takes an arrow, a bolt, a bullet, or a needle worth at least 1 copper. You make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, the target takes 1d10 force damage and the ammunition is destroyed. As with all cantrips, the damage increases by 1d10. So when you reach level 5, 11, and 17, it goes up to 2d10, 3d10, and 4d10 respectively. So it's on par with Firebolt, the top, impact damage dealing, and its force as opposed to fire. So this is definitely going to be a big one. You
Kind
just
of
have that.
I was just gonna say it's kind of an Eldritch Blast that only hits one target.
Yeah.
Um, Although it is a little weird, right? Your components are verbal and material, and because there's a component that's consumed, so it has the material component because you're launching the thing, right?
Yes.
But only Scions can use it, but Scions don't use the V in components.
Yes.
So I guess if you get this from some other way,
You still have to do the verbal. That's why it's there.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you just be like, all right, I got the bolt in my hand and phew, it fires. Um, I like this. I find that it's gonna be fun. Um, I think it would be far easier to just grab a sack full of bullets rather than arrows, bolts, or needles. But given the way loot tends to drop. You probably gonna, if you've got a psionicist that's gonna be using this, they're probably just gonna be like, all right, well, when we kill stuff, I'm just gonna take whatever ammunition it's got and add it to my, my growing pile of stuff that diminishes every time I cast a cantrip.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it doesn't need to be magic because it's
Oh,
not, it's not the physical thing that's causing the damage. It's doing force damage. It's your mind propelling the thing.
even better, you
Uh,
take all the magical ammunition, but it does absolutely nothing.
All
Uh,
right, so we're moving on to feats that are listed as wild talent feats. And I read through this several times and I'm like, all right, nowhere does it describe what does it mean to be a wild talent feat. Does this fall under like psionicist only? Does this fall under like is this
no,
an
these are
origination feat that you can take at first level? Like nothing. There's no information. It just said feats.
no, it does. You can take a wild talent feat um as a noble or sage background as an origin feat.
All right, where did I miss that?
It's in the document. I think it's in the beginning of the document. Um, in the one of the grayed out boxes.
Ah,
But otherwise, you can take it as your normal when you would be able to take a feat.
okay. Um,
Otherwise,
so there's 10 feats, 10 wild talent feats, and the big thing about these are you can only have one wild talent. You can't have another unless your GM says so. But you know, let's dive in. So, uh, at Makinesis, you gain the following benefits: Lightning Jolt. Once per turn, when you cast a spell or hit with an attack and roll bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or psychic damage, you can change the type to lightning damage. Psionic Talent, the Shocking Grasp cantrip, and always have the Fog Cloud spell prepared. You can cast it once without a spell slot and get it back after a long rest. You can also cast it this way using any spell slots of an appropriate level. When you cast these spells, they require no verbal material components, and intelligence, wisdom, or charisma is your spellcasting ability for them, chosen when you choose this feat. When your character reaches level 3, you can also have the Gust of Wind spell prepared in the same way.
so I mean, it's nice you're getting things added to your spell list. You get access to a cantrip. You get an interesting ability that allows you to change damage types. So you do it once per turn. Um, Next up, we have biokinesis. So there's gonna be a couple traits that are kind of the same for all of these, right? Like you can only get one wild talent feat, so we won't keep going over that. So bend life energy. When a spell you cast restores hit points to a creature, you gain. When a spell you cast restores hit points to a creature, you can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to the total hit points restored. Use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you can regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Sonic talent, the spare the dying cantrip. You also always have the healing word spell prepared, and um, you can cast it once for a long rest. Again, you don't need to use the components for it, and you get to choose which stat is going to be your casting stat. Those two things are going to be the same for everything as well. When you reach character level 3, you also have the arcane vigor spell prepared and cast it the same way. This feels like it would go really nicely with the metamorph.
Yeah, that I mean the especially bending life energy, that's gonna definitely sync up well with, being able to, get extra hit point or extra healing out of it. You know, I think some of these definitely line up very well with specific things.
And they're trying
Or
to give you
even
that feel, right? Yeah.
yeah, or even outside the realm of these subclasses fits very well with other type of characters as well, if you want to link this into a non-sonic character. So next one up is clairsentience. minor foreknowledge. When you take the search action, you can give yourself advantage on any ability check made as part of the same action. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you gain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Their spell casting, thing with this one is you're going to get guidance as your cantrip. You're going to get detect evil and good. And at third level, you're going to be able to get see invisibility. You're going to be able to cast both of these once for free. They're automatically added to your prepareds, and you can cast them again with any spell slots you already have.
And what's nice about the ability part of the feature is its advantage, right? Which,
Mhm.
if you were to take the psionic discipline, the discipline
I
that
believe so.
you roll the die and add that to the number, so now you're getting advantage and the die bump.
Yeah, so Sonic Discipline options for the search, you'd be looking for expanded awareness. When you take the search action, you can expend one Sonic Energy die, roll it, and add that number rolled to the ability check. So you'd get the die and advantage on the check. So you could definitely be really aware
You
about what's
could.
going on.
Next up, cryokinesis, ice manipulation. Once per turn, when you cast a spell or hit with an attack that deals bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, or psychic damage, you can change the damage type to cold. So it is very much like that first one. The Ray of Frost cantrip. You always have the Armor of Agathis and Ice Knife spells prepared. Those are two really nice gets.
Yeah, those are great spells. I felt this one was definitely a deviation from the I gotta wait till third. No, you get them both right away. But they're really nice spells, so definitely pretty cool there. Next is Empath. You get Emotional Sense. When you take the influence action, you can give yourself advantage on any ability check as part of that action. You can use the benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. Prolonged Rest, and this is another one that's going to pair nicely with the other discipline. For your psionic talent, you always have Charm Person prepared. And then when you reach third level, you're going to get Calm Emotions. This one doesn't give you the cantrip, but you are going to cast both of these for free. I think these are a little bit more useful and advantageous. So I guess they felt, well, we don't need to give you a cantrip. We're just going to give you these two.
Next up is Flesh Morpher. Get your flesh morphing on, folks. Flexible flesh. When you make a dexterity, acrobatics, or sleight of hand check, gain a bonus equal to your intelligence modifier. Minimum +1. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. It works the same as the other ones essentially. Psionic talent. You always have the Long Strider spell prepared, and at third level you get Altered Self. So this one will not stack quite as nicely with the Metamorph
Yeah,
as the name
it's
implies.
enough. It's enough to to dabble. I think given the right character, these definitely would be good choices. But I was definitely not not feeling this one as as the tops for different choices to be made. Next one up is Mind Whisper, limited telepathy as a limited telepathy. As a magic action, choose one creature you can see within 120 feet. You form a telepathic connection to that creature. For 1 hour, you and the chosen creature can communicate telepathically with each other while within 120 feet. To understand each other, you have to use a language that you both know. Once you use the benefit, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. And then for your spells, you're going to get Mind Slivers, your cantrip, Dissonant Whispers as your spell prepared, and you don't get another one at a higher level.
Yeah, this one seems a little lackluster compared to the others. Although Mind Sliver is a great cantrip and Whispers is a great
So
spell.
I'd have to look at the wording to see how the limited telepathy is going to pair with the telepath features, or whether like you have to be connected with that specific power, or if you just need to be connected with them with telepathy. Because if it's just telepathy, the 120 feet from the Mind Whisperer, that solves a lot of your problems right there.
For one person, anyway. All right.
Sure, with one person.
Side Trickster. Cunning Mind. You make a charisma, deception, or persuasion check, you gain a bonus equal to your intelligence. Again, the number of uses is the same as all of them. Psionic talent. Get the minor illusion cantrip. You get the disguise self spell, and you don't get any other spells at third level. So your mileage will definitely vary with these different.
Yeah, so I read this one, and the first thing that went through my mind, and I know, not everybody out there watching, is going to understand the reference, but I think this one would go very nicely with Vel. He's already got an obnoxious bonus to his charisma persuasion check, so being able to toss another 4 on top of it, pretty disgusting, if you ask me.
Yeah, maybe they're waiting. That's what they're waiting. The the bonuses to the skills.
Hmm. So Psychoneticist. When you take the dash action, you can increase your speed by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. You can do this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per day. Then you're going to get Telekinetic Fling as your cantrip, and then you also get Thunder Wave as your spell. So again, no higher level, but Telekinetic Fling and Thunder Wave, two pretty nice gets.
And you're better at dashing when you want to be when you use that side boost. We also get access to our final one, which is the Pyrokinesis Fire Starter. Great movie. Once per turn, when you cast a spell or hit with an attack roll, like bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, psychic damage, you can change that damage type to fire damage. So you got a couple ways where you can change several different things to different energy types. So if you're going for a particular flavor with your spell casting, or even your attacks, really, any of these are great for slapping that on there. Psionic talent. So you're going to get Produce Flame as a cantrip and Burning Hands. And when you reach third level, it adds Scorching Ray to it.
Yeah, those are all great options to be able to, flit and play with. I think most of these feats, many, casters or characters would love to be able to grab and get. They don't fit the 2024 feats because all of the other ones have been half feats. So like there's no stat bumps to go along with these, at least, in the form that they're presented.
No, that's not true, Ted. Your origin feats don't give stat bumps. There's ones that don't give stat.
Okay, all right. Well, then I stand corrected. I'm just an idiot who doesn't remember everything I've read. Uh but all in all, I like what this document presents. There's a lot of great stuff here, a lot of options. Was actually shocked to see that this hit the table because I was basically assuming that they'd given up on Scion, and to see that there's still somebody giving a crap. I'm happy to see it.
I don't know. Maybe Dark Sun in the wings. Who knows?
I can keep praying.
But with that, this has been a long one, folks. So we're not going to do our normal Q&A.
So thanks for letting us into your minds tonight, figuratively, of course. Exploring the Scion classes, spells, and feats with all of you has been an absolute blast.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and psychic link to that bell so you don't miss a single video. Until next time.
And until next time,
Stay nerdy.
stay nerdy.